everybody. Edna Valentino here. Welcome to the next episode of the Badass series. What is the Badass series? This is a series about women who are living their lives on a higher level and they're not afraid to show it. And in so doing, they help you step up a little bit more. They help you find a little bit more courage. They help you take another risk or be a little bit more bold in your own life so that you can elevate yourself too. This is women helping and supporting women through our stories. So I dare you to watch this interview and not find one tip, one lesson, one piece of wisdom that doesn't make you better, doesn't inspire you or help you today. And today I want to welcome my guest, Bethany Puetz. And I'm going to tell you about her in just a second. Welcome, Bethany.
Thank you for having me, Edna. I'm so excited.
Yes.
Conversations are always gold.
I know, right? And our conversations have been long. The last time I talked to Bethany, I said, I promise every time I call you, it's not going to be for an hour. So here's what I know about Bethany. Here's how I met Bethany. Bethany and I met through a meditation back in January through mutual friends. And first of all, she opened her mouth and she spoke. And I was like, oh my God, talk all day. I will listen to that voice all day long. And then she did the meditation and I had my own personal experience, as did everybody else. And this was all through Zoom. And we all walked away going like, wow, that was so different. And that was so cool. And this is what came up with me and right? But they were like, oh my gosh. And so it just kept rolling from there. How do we use Bethany again? How do we do this again? And then I invited Bethany for the last day of my last Jumpstart program session, which was so awesome. And everybody in the group loved it. And I had another experience that was so cool. And I'm still waiting to see how this all works with the universe. But anyway, I was like, oh girl, you like have a gift of connecting people. And then you've got this whole other backstory. So let me tell you this, Bethany, can I tell them the slogan that you came up with?
Sure.
For what you do for work? Oh my God.
Let's just put it out there.
Oh my God, we got to put it out there. This is it. Here's Bethany, right? This is what she does. She is digital by day and woo-woo by night. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And really it's because, and you can tell us more, your day job, and I had to write it down because you were so technical and so precise. And then I was like seeing this whole other side, and it's, you guys, it's opposite. Are you out there right now working in a job that is like opposite like you right now, but it's paying the bills, it's what you built. And then you really want to do this other thing, and Bethany's doing it. And that's why I think she's so badass. So she's a process mining manager for a manufacturing company. Did I get that right?
You got it right. You nailed it. Yes.
She does analytics and spreadsheets. Like her job is all about spreadsheets and meetings, right? But then at night, she says her calling is to help people heal from ancestral trauma. So she does ancestral trauma healing. She has remote clients. She does it on Zoom. We talked about all the ways we can be connected. Bethany's in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is truly my pleasure. I've never had a guest that is anything like you. And I am so excited to be with you.
Thank you.
That's great.
To be here.
Yes. And she's the most humble. You guys, like when you're badass, you don't have to be out there, rah, rah, rah. Like sometimes I'm like crazy, right? My energy goes up around Bethany because she's so stable. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is so great. So anyway, let's jump in. So first of all, okay, tell me the digital part before we get into the woo-woo part. Okay. How did you go to college for the process mining management?
Oh my goodness, no. This is
how did you get
I
there?
Just kind of landed in. So I actually went to school for marketing.
Okay.
And I have never to this day had a job in marketing. So
funny how that happens, right?
It's funny how that happens. I landed in kind of a interesting role that evolved about 10 years ago in a purchasing department. And the role was a lot of data cleansing. And so I just kind of adapted, I guess, to the role and went back and forth between master data, a lot of data processing, things like that, and procurement for about 10 years as the CEO left that company, went into another company, pulled people over. I was one of the group that came over, that sort of thing. And then my current company, very similar role, got me in the door, master data kind of a thing. And then this program came about. And I just happened to be the one that they said, well, you know, hey, take this on, manage this. And it worked. The program kind of blossomed, you know, under my management. I am convinced it didn't have anything to do with me. It had to do with the team that was working on it. But here I am, process mining manager. It's all about continuous improvement. It's all about finding the ways that a certain transaction doesn't go on the golden path, the most expedient path, and finding, you know, okay, what are the outliers and how can we fix the processes to bring them in, thus saving the company money, saving time, saving manpower, all of that kind of stuff that goes along with our digital world, automation and making transactions smoother and costless for companies.
That's incredible. And with the day and age that we live in, I'm sure there's such a need for that. And you know, kind of cleaning house. And you use the word cleansing. And I just think, yes, you did. And that's what I love, because that's a great segue into what you're doing with the ancestral trauma healing. So tell me this, because I really want to dive into the woo-woo part. You know, I'm sure everybody knows that I would probably want to get excited about that. So you told me that this is a calling. How do you know? Well, first of all, you know, how do you know that we'll go there. How do you know that this is a calling?
I haven't been able to run far enough and fast enough away from it for years that what else could it be? Trying to figure out my purpose, my thing. And I thought it was in the corporate world. I thought that maybe I just didn't have the right job, the right company, the right, you know, focus on kind of the digital aspect. And meanwhile, kind of in my private life, things kept calling me, you know, certain kind of woo-woo books and the idea of energy healing. I saw a video on Donna Eden one time, and I was just like hooked. The idea that you can do energy medicine, that you can change your beliefs. Dr. Joe Dispenza is a hero of mine. I mean, the whole like
of him.
Yes. Greg Braden is another one. I just absorb everything that these guys do, and I love learning about it. And it just kind of kept swirling around, you know, that I would find something else and I would go down that path. And then Denise Lynn is another one that does a lot with ancestors and energy and, you know, healing kinds of things. And so as it swirled around, I think it was kind of focusing in a little bit until all of a sudden just boom, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Oh gosh, that is such a great feeling. I will tell you, I know that for myself. I think I struggled a lot of times, and this is for everybody. I think a lot of times things start showing up in our life and we're like, why is this showing up? I think I'm supposed to go down this path. And why does this opportunity keep showing up? Or why am I drawn to those things? Like you said, those books and those speakers and authors. And you do have to look at that, because there's probably some natural inclination pulling you towards that to be able to do something with that, whatever that might be. And for me, it was the same thing. It was the speaking piece. And I used to think like, no, like I should be, you know, quiet. I'm always, you know, out there saying my thing. And all of a sudden, and I remember having that pull also and being like, this is a gift. We all have our gifts, and I enjoy it, and you enjoyed it, and you get inspired, and you start feeling like this thing inside your body's like showing up, and it's like, that's what I'm supposed to do, you know. And then it's okay. And then if you give yourself the permission, it's like, it's okay, you know. So I love what you're saying, because here you are going down one path and then something's pulling you over here, and right now you're kind of in both worlds, and it's such a dichotomy of what you're doing. And yet I imagine that there's probably some overlap in it as you use the word cleansing with Jada and what you're talking about. But tell everybody, what is ancestral trauma healing or energy healing? Like, tell me that whole world in a broad sense, because really, Bethany, not a lot of people are privy to it, even know that it's out there. But I think more and more there is a spiritual awakening happening across the planet right now, especially with this last year, where people are open to something beyond and bigger than us. And it's almost showing up in our lives. And so that's the space you play with. So I think that, you know, people might have heard or have some impression of what it might be. Clear that up for us. What is energy healing?
Sure. So in the largest sense, energy healing is on the quantum level, the adoption of a different belief. It's if you can act as if you can see and envision this new possibility for yourself, you can put yourself into the shoes of what it would feel like to be healthy, to be free from any number of different situations. The energy that is resulted as that takes on a different form, and you step into that new life. I mean, it's very simplified. It sounds kind of like you wave a magic wand and poof kind of thing. I haven't had any clouds of like fairy dust, come up as I've done that yet.
Right. And we like simple because that actually is in its essence what's happening, but there is a broader experience going on between point A and point Z.
Yes. And everything in the universe is energy. If we can get to that mindset that just because we have a physical form and I can touch my skin, can touch different things that we learn are matter, doesn't mean that they're not energy. They're just denser. They're vibrating at a lower frequency. And so it's closer together and what makes it appear solid. Something that's vibrating at a higher frequency is going to not appear as solid. It's going to be more what we think of as like energy, vapor, whatever term you want to use to kind of put the two against each other, matter versus,
Yes, to kind of compare the two.
Right.
But all energy. And I used to talk to people, about their vibe. And like, you could go to, let's say you went to a holiday party or just a party and there's a whole bunch of people there and you don't know everybody, but you're drawn to people, right? Or you shake hands with somebody and you're like, oh, I don't know about what was going on with her. Like you have a vibration that comes from us. And I'm a huge Abraham Hicks fan. So, talking about Yes, the vibration and pulling things into your life. So when Bethany's talking about health, right, or money or relationships, it's like it comes from us, right, Bethany? Like we need to come from a good state, a good vibration out in order to pull in, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the best way to relate it is when you get into this field of possibility. All things are possible. And it's when you raise your vibration to match the things that you desire that you then pull them into you.
Tell me what it is that you're actually doing when you have a client and you're doing this ancestral trauma healing.
So what we're actually doing is releasing the dense and stuck energy that has accumulated in the body throughout this lifetime, throughout past lifetimes, and that has been handed down from ancestors or inherited. And so, I mean, we all go through things, right? So things can be collected in our body in this lifetime. And people say, well, that's not really ancestral trauma. That's just being human. That's just living kind of thing. Here's the thing. If you don't get rid of it, then it can pass down to your offspring. And so that's how it occurs. So if it's not cleansed out, then it can get passed on. And it will until you get to the point where somebody stands up and says, I'm the one that heals my generation or my lineage.
That is crazy to me. I am open to all of this, and that blew my mind. I didn't even know. How do we know this is? Like, you're saying that I could have stuck energy in my body that could have come from my great grandmother.
Mhm. Yes. And it doesn't always manifest the same in siblings either. So there could be things that come through for you that maybe come through differently or don't come through at all for, a sibling of yours, kind of thing.
Okay.
Gifts. I mean, it doesn't have to be just trauma that gets passed on. It can be gifts. I know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. In my family, like melody, singing, natural talents for things like that. I remember my grandfather was always, I mean, he probably could have performed. He was that good. And it didn't really land in my mom's generation, but my brother has the same kind of affinity and the same kind of talents. Really, reminds us a lot of my grandfather in many characteristics.
How did you get trained?
I'm an avid reader, and I trained myself really
Mhm.
through
Mhm.
reading just tons and tons of books. I have a bookshelf in my office that's 5 shelves high, and they're stacked double deep.
That's awesome.
So, but also there was natural talent there too. And so, early last year, before the whole, lockdown and everything occurred, I was trained in Reiki, and
Okay.
there was a natural affinity to that. I think some of the things that people pick up on in my energy field and in talking to me is just kind of like that healing sort of that's just emanating out. And I didn't know, I kept trying to figure out like what's wrong with me? Why why am I different? I kept taking all sorts of personality tests and I didn't understand until I really kind of embraced it and then figured out, oh, this is what this is.
So did you have any show of this gift when you were a kid? Like, how far back has this been going on?
There were things that made me different as a child, and I worked to suppress them
Mm.
because I was very attuned to what was going on in the room. And I was always working to figure out, what is the emotion, what is the attitude, what do I need to think, feel, and say to be able to be okay, to be able to provide the right answer, to be good, to be, any number of things that fit in with the good girl that's not disruptive, that's not, too outspoken, that's not weird or all that sort of stuff. And so it gradually got suppressed. Um, and then when I was in college, something happened that really challenged the intuition that I was feeling. And I kept working to suppress it very actively. And ultimately, I got very sick as a result of it. And
Wow, is that right?
mhm, mhm. Yeah. So since then, little things have been bubbling up, and it's been a rediscovery and uncovering process because I I think I taught myself not to trust who I truly am because it wasn't okay to be that person. Does that make sense?
Who told you it wasn't okay to be that person?
It was things that I picked up in my environment. It was things that I picked up from family, from teachers, from various adults in my world, in my community. That that's not how we do things. This
Yeah.
over here is the right path.
As a mom with 2 kids, I think about this because I look at my kids, and you know the term indigo kids?
Mhm.
Okay, of course you
Yeah,
do. You're
yeah.
even wearing indigo. And I've heard of it with these kids that have these special gifts. And then recently a friend had given me 2 books, Indigo Kids and Indigo Kids as Adults. And there's a whole like thinking, and it's just made me think of children now, and to, piggyback off of your story of what are the gifts in front of our own kids right now that we as parents, because we have rules, or you don't do this, or you're quiet in the room, or you're this way or that way, right? We put them in a box and those gifts get suppressed. Like that pains me to think of you, Bethany, as a child, having something come up where you suppress it. And I think in a way, maybe we've all had some kind of experience with suppressing the thing, like us really showing up in the world the way we want to show up, even if it's just in the moment, even if it's, just in the room with a group of people and you feel like I couldn't even raise my hand to say what I really wanted to say, because if I did, they would think A, B, and C, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how many times are we doing that? And here you are with this powerful gift, and girl, you are energy, because you and I haven't even ever met in person. And I feel like I've known you forever. Everybody would say you are a nurturer. Like if I'm in the same room with you, girl, and someday I will be, I'm going to be nuzzling up right next to you, like shoulder to shoulder, because you are that person. Energetically, you're just going to draw the people who want that. Now, you're probably not going to draw the people who don't want to hug, right? Like I have those too. But I just think this is absolutely fascinating that we all show up with the gifts that we have and honor them. Like, I feel like it's an honoring for you of yourself. Like, we're here for a minute on this planet. Like, how long are we going to keep suppressing the gifts that we have because we think everybody's going to think we're weird? Yes. Right? Like, I'm just so happy that you have kind of brought this on, and more in the last year, right? You mentioned even before the pandemic. Can you tell me some stories? I would love to know, first of all, what are you actually doing with somebody when you're kind of releasing that energy? And number 2, like, give me some stories, because you had some great examples, especially with the mom and the daughter when she walked in a few days later, that just blows your mind. You guys have to stay open to a world that's bigger than what we see, feel, touch, like all of it. Tell me.
So the way that the trauma healing session goes is it's similar to a Reiki session.
Okay, I've never had Reiki before.
We need to get you a Reiki session.
Yes, sign me up. I'm gonna make my appointment. Yes, go ahead.
We'll do a remote Reiki session for you.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Yes, absolutely.
I am a attuned Reiki master, and so it's very similar to that, where it's on the Reiki table, kind of thing. And then there is an energy release. I'm actually liberating dense and stuck trauma, and I can feel it as I assess their energy body. And I'm actually working in the layer about 2 inches above the body. I don't actually touch the client's physical body a lot of times. I'm working in the energy field, and I can feel it in there. And different clients are different. I can either feel it as I kind of move my hand over their body and be able to say, oh, there's something over here, like in this area, let's pull that out, kind of thing. Sometimes I feel it in my body, that I actually get, as I move my hand over. I had a client just this past weekend, and we called in, the different ancestors that we work with, and I moved my hand over and I felt it in my throat. And so it's like, oh, okay, there's throat stuff, there's voice stuff, there's, maybe not being allowed to be yourself, that sort of thing. So we clear it there. So every client is a little bit different. We clear the stuck and dense energy, and then fill back in with light energy. And that's where the Reiki comes in. The reason is nature abhors a vacuum. And so when you pull something out, you don't want that same type of energy to fill back in. You want to fill in with the light, so that way it helps to just neutralize everything, balance everything, put them back on a better energetic path. And of course, we talk, before the session about what our target intention is, what are the feelings, what are the things that they want to release. and where is it manifesting in their life. And then we talk afterwards. A lot of times my clients will feel or see things when they're on the table, images, colors, different things like that. They might feel different sensations in their body. And then I will also get things. So we kind of compare notes. We see, you know, how did it come through for you? What happened while you were on the table? And then I'll also give my perceptions of what happened, as well as people are fascinated when we call in. We do the 4 specific generations to their most prominent lineage. And so, like, for example, for you, Edna, it would be maternal. So it would be your mom, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and your great-great-grandmother are the 4 that we target specifically. And then after those are cleared, then we call in any other ancestors that have trauma issues dealing with the themes of what we're trying to release that day. And so then we'll release those. And so for men, it's the paternal lineage.
Paternal. Okay.
Paternal, yeah. So for men, it would be father, grandfather, great grandfather, great great grandfather would be the 4, you know, that are most directly tied. And then that's where you start. There are people that have already said, clients of mine that are like, I'm going to do this annually. So they're, you know, they already know that they're going to come back next year and do maybe like their paternal lineage or like their maternal grandfather and follow that, you know, the different lines kind of thing, or clear different types of themes. So we start with the one that has the most impact and then work our way from there.
Do you have to have like a problem to come see you, or can you just show up and be like, clear me?
Yeah, you don't have to have a problem. You don't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be manifesting as like a debilitating issue kind of thing. I mean, you can be kind of feeling like you're living life okay and still come and to, you know, just clear, just balance the energy. It doesn't have to be a specific issue, although a lot of people, anxiety is one. The mother that you mentioned with the daughter.
Yes. Tell us that story.
There was some anxiety and unworthiness that mom was working through and had some trauma previously in her life, divorced, you know, that sort of thing. And she came to clear that and felt a lot better after she got off the table. The day that she left, she was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. The next day she called me, she's like, this is great, I feel really good. But then 3 days later, she texted me and she's like, you are not going to believe this. It's like, okay, lay it on me. What do you think?
Oh my gosh.
She said that her 16-year-old daughter, who deals a lot with anxiety, came to chat with her, just kind of a check-in kind of a thing. And her mom was like, you know, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on with you these days? And her daughter was like, I don't know, mom. It's the weirdest thing. About 3 days ago, it's like a weight got lifted off my shoulders. And I feel so much lighter and better since then. And of course, it tracked back to the timeline of her mom's session and the trauma that we released from her mom. And it was just like, this is cool.
Oh my God. Can you imagine liberating your children or your grandchildren because of the healing you did from your past? And that's how I look at it, is just how much doing one session with you could free up multiple people, you know, like, and just create, I just, to me, it just freedom. It's just freedom because you're getting rid of stuff that's stuck, right?
Right.
One of the things I would ask, because this type of work used to, for me, I'd be afraid about what's coming up. Like what would come up? Oh my gosh, if I go do something like this, you know, am I going to bawl my eyes out and be in more pain and stress? And is the trauma going to stay with me? And am I going to be so sad afterwards or something like that. And I don't mean just, work with you, Bethany, because I understand it. But in the past, as I've kind of dabbled in different things, I think, even for somebody who's just doing therapy, sometimes they don't go to therapy because they're afraid they're going to talk about things that are going to be so painful. They don't want to even address it. Is there any aftermath after that? Like it really is a release, right? Where you're going to be free from that particular pain, so to speak, correct?
It really is a release, but it's not a magic wand. And so everybody goes through healing differently. And so some people actually do process through some things. And so it's like you get up off the table and, it's magic. I'm never going to feel bad again kind of thing. There's some thing. And the client that I worked with last weekend, she was kind of a puddle before we started because she was verbally processing through some things. And afterwards, she felt better, she felt lighter. But then as we continued to talk, she was still like processing through some things. And then when I talked to her the next day, then she was like, oh, I've connected the dots on some things. And I'm really, I'm feeling better. I'm seeing things a little bit differently. I think that there's still healing to do, but it's not, she was thinking that it was about her, that she was deficient in some way. And it wasn't that. She has to go through this healing, but she was able to reframe it and see it in a different light. And so therefore it wasn't quite as upsetting, even though she's still processing through some things. So some people it takes, a few days, maybe even, a couple weeks to process through some things. Some people are just like left that behind, so it is a process, but overall, my clients have contacted me and said that they feel amazingly better and that they, I have people referring me, clients that have come to see me are referring people that they know, that they run into, friends, that sort of thing, that it's just fantastic to be able to see that not only are they telling me, yes, I feel better, but they feel better enough to be able to actually refer somebody to come and see me.
I've been referring you already since January. I haven't even had my session yet, and I've told everybody about you. I mean, now, have you found people actually physically heal after doing energy work with you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
Physical healing. So another client had back issues, like broken back issues.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he hasn't been able to be to the gym or golf or, do the things that he was doing before. And he went through a session with me and we spent a lot of time really on like the lower back area, healing and doing stuff like that, clearing stuff out of there. And he immediately felt better in the following days and was able to, he's not, back to a full schedule, but was able to resume more activities than he had been previously.
If we don't think our bodies are some reflection of the energy behind that, you guys, we're missing the boat. There's way more to our physical health than just what meets the eye. And I love that connection. That's the way it works. I learned that from Dr. Joe Dispenza for sure.
Yep.
I think that's amazing. Okay. So tell me, what's your husband's name?
My husband's name is Dave.
Dave, we love you, Dave. What does Dave think about the work that you do?
He's supportive. He doesn't necessarily believe exactly. He's supportive that this is something that it seems like I am enjoying, that it seems like there's an affinity for. And I think there was kind of a shift when I stopped hiding. So I had been hiding books in the closet.
Is that right?
Really in the spiritual closet. Yeah. I had been hiding stuff that I thought were more inflammatory or that were more witchy.
Uh-huh.
It was in the shift last year that, I don't know, I got really bold, I guess. Like I said, it's that thing that was calling that I just felt like I couldn't shake off anymore. And so I moved stuff out of the closet, and I stopped shrinking from conversations that seemed like they might be, on the edge. Um, and I think there was a shift there, and I kind of like calmed down, settled down, like embraced something that he could feel. And so it's like, yeah, go do what makes you happy. And then when money started coming in,
What happened then, Bethany?
then it was like, wait, people actually pay you to do this? And then one day he started calculating. He's like, okay, just bear with me. If you see this many clients a day and you see this many clients a week, then you could, he starts, punching buttons. He's like, you could have your own space. You could leave your job. You could, all that sort of factoring that I was like, way ahead of you, babe. I've already. But it was just so cute to see, like there's that belief that
I love it. I just love your calmness about it. Got you. I'm way ahead of you, babe.
way ahead of you, babe. Way ahead of you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But you know what? It's almost like standing in our posture, right? When you have an ownership about the gift or the thing that you're hiding. And when you accept it for yourself, the people around you accept it too. I remember when I was a producer at QVC and quitting my day job to become a personal trainer because my heart and soul found a new way into fitness. And I was like, I don't think the corporate world is going to be for me. I can see where this is going. And the money was good and vacation was good. And my coworkers were great. I loved everything about it. I just didn't see myself going up that corporate ladder. And oh, by the way, I had this excitement about fitness and helping people show up in the world. If you just start with your body, right? Like let's just heal that up a little bit in just working out, right?
Right.
And I remember talking to people about it and talking to one particular friend who was a huge mentor of mine and also somebody I looked up to, and he was doing really great at QVC. And I said, like I gave my 2 weeks, I'm leaving. What are you going to do? I'm going to be a personal trainer and I'm going to go train everybody here. And I remember always having such a posture, but there were it was 1 or 2 times that I had such respect for the person that I thought, oh my God, am I really doing the right thing? Am I telling the person? I'm like, in a second, I thought, is that like a step down? Right. And when I was like, oh no, this is where I belong. And I owned it. Not one person, not even that person ever said anything to me about what I was doing next. They saw my passion and excitement about where I was going. Just like your husband, it's like, okay, you got this, girl. Like if you own it, whatever it is in your life that you are suppressing or hiding or putting in that spiritual closet, you got to pull that out and you have to own it first, because the people around you won't own it like you will. And they certainly won't own it first. That we are huge. You got a following, girl. You got some fans with Holly Couch and Carrie Conti, and we love you, Bethany. We know like where you're going. I think it's so fantastic, the work that you're doing, and how it really, I mean, this wisdom really is so perfect for how we might not have your gift, but we have other gifts, and how we show up in the world with those gifts is huge. And what you're doing is hugely powerful. I know you women's circles and you're really into the female power and like elevating everybody, but together, we're not doing any of this alone. Like this is all a collective energy that you're like helping to raise. And I see you really as a force of nature in multiple ways. I think it's fantastic, the work you are doing. And I get a strong sense that this is just the beginning for you, Missy.
I appreciate you saying that, Edna. I certainly could not have gotten to where I am right now alone. It's the circle. It's the people, the women that I have consciously surrounded myself with and worked to get into the room with over the last about 18 months that really have made the difference. And I absolutely feel like someone kind of pulled me along and said, you can do this. And I have the most joy in finding somebody else who's not quite as far on the path and saying, come on, you can do this. This is the next step. I just absolutely love it. And I have to tell you, you're not the only person that has this like feeling about what's ahead. So multiple people have said that to me recently, and I'm kind of makes me wonder what's coming. Oh my God.
I don't know, but I'm going to watch it like I'm watching a show, because I just have this like, woo, big feeling for you. Like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And listen, girl, I even wore my good vibes
I
sweater.
love it.
Yeah,
I love
okay.
it.
So good vibes to you. And I thank you so much. And I will, somehow maybe we can do a Facebook Live or something on my session with you, because I know I'm definitely going to be working with you too. And I wanted to get this out there sooner than later. So we will work on that. And girl, I suppress nothing else. Okay. Let the gift as you are just keep pouring out of you, because you are a powerful human being. And what you are doing for the planet, one woman at a time, one man at a time, is what changes the planet. Seriously. So thank you for the work that you do and for having the courage to tap into your God-given gift, Bethany.
Thank you. Thank you, Edna. I appreciate that.
You can connect with Bethany on Instagram, Facebook, and on her website, sacredsageunleashed.com. Stay tuned for the next episode in the Badass series.